Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw podcast. Tonight, we are taking a look back at the games on November the 1st, which was yesterday. Basically, the key games of that night, or last night, were the Rockets and Cavs, of course, Jazz and Spurs, and Warriors and Blazers. We're going to start with the Rockets and Cavs, and the Cavaliers were able to beat the Rockets 128-120. Gonzo, what are maybe some things that stood out to you in the game that you noticed?
The game was pretty tight all the way through. I had to question coaching in the fourth quarter for like a stretch of the fourth quarter. I think it's maybe from like the beginning of the fourth to maybe about the 5-minute mark. James Harden wasn't in the game. I thought he should have been. I thought he should, if anything, he should be playing that whole fourth quarter to have a shot for them to win this game. He was out. And I think that's the real reason why they kind of lost, because when they put him back in, they were already down by some points already. Which they, like I said, they were going neck and neck. They were trading baskets for a while. They had Eric Gordon trading baskets with Kyrie Irving, and Channing Frye was coming out exchanging baskets. But the fourth quarter, what really stood out to me the most was James Harden wasn't in there for a bulk of the minutes.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it with Houston, their bench hit or miss. Mm-hmm. So, Matt, what did you see kind of out of the game?
Well, it was close. I remember we gave our predictions. I thought it would be close. I didn't think they'd score. I believe I said there wouldn't be a game in the 120s, and here we go, a game in the 120s. So I was an asshole on that one. But the Rockets' defense, once again, piss poor. But silver lining, I think, the Cavs are supposed to have a pretty elite defense as well, and the Rockets hung 120 on them in Cleveland. So I think there is kind of a silver lining there. It kind of shows when the Rockets play these elite teams, they're going to just have to outscore them because they're not going to stop anybody, especially. And then another thing that's standing out to me is the really good play of Kevin Love. It seems like after the finals, he makes the huge defensive stop on Steph Curry, to basically save the game for the Cavs after they went up. Now he's just playing with so much more confidence. He looks like he's fitting in now. He knows what his job is.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, kind of going back to Houston real quick, is a guy that I thought was going to actually have I wouldn't say a breakout season, but a fairly consistent season was Clint Capella. I think he fits defensively as far as being able to change shots, not necessarily block them completely, but change a lot of shots. He can rebound, and he shows a little bit of an offensive game, but D'Antoni just doesn't trust him, and he plays Nene. Capella only got 18 minutes last night, and it's going to be interesting because Nene's out with an injury, and so they're going to have to go to the bench. It's either Harrell, who I expect to probably get some minutes as the backup 5, or you could see if they need instant offense, you could see Kyle Wiltshire come in and play the 4. But the rest of the bench,
I think it's going to be interesting it looks like we'll have Capella and Harrell in that role instead of Capella and Nene, and it'll be interesting how he splits the minutes up. Obviously, Capella will get more minutes than 18, but if they look better defensively, and then when Nene comes back, if he goes right back to Nene and they start playing no defense and losing, then the entire city of Houston is gonna flip out. They already hate D'Antoni. They're already hating. I mean, you see Kurt Lowe's tweets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how the whole city feels.
It's funny because obviously D'Antoni with Phoenix, offensive guru, and I think the faster pace fits Houston. But some of the guys that D'Antoni's playing, like, I'm not a big Corey Brewer fan. I like KJ McDaniels in the role, but he's very still raw. I mean, he didn't play a lot of minutes last year. Came off a good season with the 76ers the season before, but you've got to develop them. But at the same time, what else on the bench do you really have? You're looking at Sam Decker, who's basically a rookie because he most of the year last year was out with a back injury. So he's playing the stretch 4 role. They don't have really a backup point guard because Tyler Ennis is out. or is playing, and he's basically out there just kind of winging it. Bobby Brown is, kind of a veteran basketball player, but not much experience in the NBA. And you've got Patrick Beverley out. So you're relying on James Harden to play the point guard role. Yes, he's putting up huge numbers, 41 points last night, 15 assists to go with 7 rebounds, but your team doesn't win. So what do those numbers really mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to add one thing about Clint Capella real quick, though. Clint Capella, one reason why he's not in the lineup, and if you watched the first quarter yesterday, he had the first 2 points, I think, for the Rockets. They were both dunks. And shortly after that, he got 2 fouls with in 4 minutes. He got them back to back. So they had to put him on the bench. He gets in foul trouble very easily. Yeah,
he takes gambles, and I get D'Antoni not playing him 32 minutes a game, but you can at least split the minutes, 24 and 24 between Nene and himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, because Capella can give you some things that obviously Nene cannot, because Nene on the defensive end is,
you know what it tells me, and it's weird, and I don't understand, but I think it just tells you he does not trust Clint Capella, and he doesn't trust Harrell. He trusts Nene. I think it's one of the Nene. He's he's been in the league 13, 14 years. It's a veteran. I trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that Tom Thibodeau mentality, where obviously Thibodeau can't do it now because he has nothing but young guys. But in Chicago, he did not trust the young guys, right. And it seems like that's kind of what D'Antoni's going with here. He's going with the veterans, the guys he thinks will get it done, and even if they're not doing well, he's still playing them.
And then on Cleveland's side of the ball, Kyrie Irving, he went off. Kevin Love has been very consistent. LeBron, 2 assists away from a triple-double last night. They look good. The thing about Cleveland is going to be long-term, is Kevin Love going to be able to sustain kind of the upbeat, restart of a career, so to speak, because he's had down seasons. I think he's finally found a way to fit in. He's rejuvenated after winning the title last year. Is he going to be able to sustain that all year? Is J.R. Smith going to be able to knock down shots consistently? And what are you going to get out of the bench outside of Mike Dunleavy and, for 1 game, off 3 games, Channing Frye?
Mm-hmm.
Because Richard Jefferson, he was basically in retirement, came out. Is he going to be able to play long-term? Amon Shumpert's basically playing the backup point guard role.
Dunleavy.
That can't last. So it's going to be interesting with Cleveland as they play, throughout the season. Basically, you're going to have teams that kind of come on. You're going to have Boston that ends up, giving them some fits.
Mm-hmm.
If
Chicago.
the Pacers can somehow turn it around, Chicago, teams like that'll give them some fits during the season. So I want to see a little adversity against the Cavs before we start getting all hyped up about, the Cavs are 4-0. It's
they haven't beaten anybody.
Yeah, basically, you took the words out of my mouth. They haven't beaten anybody. So, looking at basically the next game of the night, the Spurs and the Jazz. The Spurs end up losing the game 106-91 to the Jazz. The Jazz have actually competed. I was a little, kind of unsure about them without having Gordon Hayward out there. And then, of course, Alec Burks is out as well. So,
and Faves isn't 100% yet.
Exactly. So, a lot of question marks there, and they still beat a very good San Antonio team, which has actually kept Greg Popovich from ever starting a season 5-0. So,
and they did it in San Antonio, I believe. Yeah.
Gonzo, any keys on either side for Utah or San Antonio that you kind of picked up on?
I think the Jazz won because of good guard play by George Hill, obviously. Good rebounding by Rudy Gobert. But I think this is more or less a case of San Antonio fatigue with their bigs like LaMarcus Aldridge, because I think he only had 4 rebounds. I don't think Gasol even had double-digit rebounds. But I also know that they've played, I think, 5 games within 1 week.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is they played a lot of games within 1 week. So it could just be fatigue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, any thoughts on your side?
I want to say from the I watched a little bit of the ball game, And I'm really impressed with the pace the Jazz are playing. It's not just, up and down fast, but on offense, when they get into their half court, they're not using the whole shot clock every time down the floor. They're really moving the basketball well and getting good shots. And if George Hill and Rodney Hood and even Trey Lyles came in and got some buckets, if these guys are going to make shots, watch out. This is going to be a really good team this year. I think they're better than the Clippers if they play like this, because they're doing this without Alec Burks, without their best player Gordon Hayward, and when those guys come back, if they can keep this up, they're going to be really scary, because they did beat a good San Antonio team who can score, and they shut them down to 91 points. The defense is there, but it's not, they're not just grinding it out like they did last year and just, they were one of the slowest paced teams in the league, get low 90s, high 80s scores and stuff. You're not seeing that right now. They're taking good shots, and they're not, they're taking them when they're there. They're not just passing it around the whole 24 seconds, which I think is a good thing, because like we talked about in their preview, they're going to have to pick that pace up. They're so good defensively, but they ranked towards the bottom in offensive rating. They were, in the below 14 or 15, I think, and they have to improve. They got to get in the top 10. They look like they've made those improvements, and it showed last night.
Yeah, I mean, on the Jazz's side of things, they also didn't have Boris Diaw, so extra minutes for Trey Lyles, of course, which I'm very high on. Basically, Lyles was able to get 15 points off the bench. Had a good night. Very respectful.
Didn't Shelvin Mack have like 15? Was it Mack?
14. Yeah,
Lyles had 15. Mack had 14.
And Rudy Gobert, of course, with the new contract extension, was able to challenge shots at the rim consistently. I think he pulled down like 12 rebounds or so. Good effort by him. And the big thing, like you said, Gonzo, is George Hill. 22 and 7. I mean, he's definitely made a big difference. Mm-hmm. That was a struggle for Utah last year. With George Hill there, it eases in Dante Exum to kind of, get back in shape, kind of show what he can do, kind of easing his way through the season. And then probably either late this year or next year, he might even take over that starting role with Hill probably coming off the bench.
And, another thing we've talked about with the free throw shooting of Rudy Gobert, with him shooting 75% so far this year, that allows them to actually play and not have to worry about hack a big man.
Absolutely.
They can't just come down and foul him. If he's going to shoot 75%, they're not going to foul him. They're just lose. It's almost as bad as a turnover if he can't make free throws. But he's knocking them down this year, so they can't just come down and waste possessions.
Right. And then with the Spurs side of things, Kawhi Leonard made some mistakes, late. But at the end of the day, Gonzo, you hit it on the head, fatigue, 5 games. I mean, come on.
And he's been fantastic in every game. He was fantastic for the most part last night. I mean, and you know what I like about him? And it was in the first quarter. He just comes down off the little pull-up three, stuff that he wasn't doing last year.
Right. And he's still putting up 30 points in a game. So it's not like it's, Leonard, everybody has a couple of possessions where they don't play their best.
Absolutely.
It happens. But it was the bench play that really had the Spurs suffering. They got nothing from the bench, basically. And I think that Tony Parker, it's time for him to play a lot less minutes. He just doesn't have it anymore.
No. And he hurts him on both ends of the floor.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been, kind of sad to watch. So you could definitely see – I know they sent Dejounte Murray down to the Austin Spurs to get some experience, but you'll definitely see Patty Mills a good bit, and you could even see Lapara Latova in the game at some point, for maybe some spot minutes here or there, because coming from Argentina, he has experience, and even though he is a rookie, he can provide some things getting the ball to different people. But
and we know Pop's going to figure it out.
Oh yeah. No worries about the Spurs or anything like that. So going to the big game of the night, what everybody is probably tuning in for, the Warriors against the Trailblazers. I had predicted an upset of the Trailblazers. Boy, was I wrong.
The rest of us picked blowouts.
Yeah, and everybody else was right, and I looked stupid, so it's all right. I want to start with the Trailblazers side of things. Gonzo, do you see anything on the Trailblazers side that either good or bad?
The good is that they have C.J. McCallum, they have Alan Crabb, and they have Damian Lillard. Those are the good parts. The bad part is that their bigs are trash. They don't have really good bigs. Like, I was really hoping in free agency that Dwight Howard, they could get a Dwight Howard. They can get somebody like an Al Horford on that team. Because I thought it would be a really good fit for them. They're sticking with Plumlee and Noah Vonleh, and I mean, these guys are atrocious.
Right? They really are gonna. They need Festus Ezeli. If anything, he's gonna change shots at the rim and give them defense from that big position, which Plumlee and Vonleh aren't gonna do, or Myers Leonard. At least with Festus, he's gonna rebound, he's gonna defend, and he's gonna change shots at the rim.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get something from him.
What stood out to you, Matt, for the Trailblazers?
Actually, you know what? Evan Turner, I thought looked pretty good last night. He came in and really, the Warriors, they picked it up. They got up to a slow start, picked it up. I think they were up 9 at the end of the first quarter. Durant hit the little shot. But then Evan Turner came in and was just getting buckets for him, which I think that's huge for him. If he can do that, that gives them a nice, reliable scorer off the bench when Crabbe's not playing well. So, now you've got 2 reliable scorers. Hopefully you can get something, out of Vonleh, because I know late it was garbage minutes, but he hit a couple threes. So hopefully they can do that, but they're not going to guard this Golden State team. And what's scary is Durant and Klay Thompson really didn't have their best games. Obviously, Klay Thompson can't throw it in the ocean, but Durant didn't have his greatest game of the year, probably his worst game so far. It really was Steph Curry in the third quarter, and they shut him down in the first half. He didn't do anything.
Right.
It just goes, but I think that just goes to show you how scary this Golden State team can be. And we've talked about it. We're going to see it in spurts. We saw it a little bit last night. Their defense came alive. So I think if they can just get someone that can, change shots at the rim, this Golden State team, like they're going to be the team we all think they can be. Who's going to beat them? Because I think Klay Thompson will figure it out. I hope he does. And we've seen he's missing shots that he should not miss. He's getting better looks than he has his whole career. He's just not making them, and he's missing bad.
Yeah, it's all mental right now for him. I think basically looking at, kind of watching the game all the way through, obviously Lillard was killing it in the first half, and then the size of the defense of Klay Thompson kind of hurt him. In the second half, he had a little bit harder time getting, smoother looks on offense. And that bench, just like Gonzo said, what do you get out of them? Mm-hmm. Yes, Evan Turner had a good night, but if Alan Crabb's kind of struggling.
Yeah, and Alan Crabb gave him nothing last night.
Yeah, there's nothing else there. Kind of a cool story. It was garbage time. But Jake Layman, the rookie out of Maryland, ended up hitting 17 points in only 8 minutes.
And he got a moments card.
Yeah.
On 2K, they gave him a moments card.
Yeah, the one thing that 2K keeps up with.
Mm-hmm. God, all you got to do is come in and play 8 minutes, and then they'll give you a moments card where you're rated like a 72.
Right.
Way to go, 2K. That's how you keep us happy. We all want the Layman moments card.
Right. He ended up hitting 5 of 7 from downtown. He had a nice little, I don't even really know. I guess it was like a little step back kind of three, to kind of start off his run of shooting from the outside. But it was kind of cool to watch. You're not going to see him much in the rotation, but it shows that he can do some things if given a chance. So he's another piece there.
If anything, he can make shots.
Mm-hmm. For the Warriors, finally they get – enough across the board, except for Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
But shooting 6 for 17, 0 for 7 from 3, that's not going to happen very much longer.
No. I think 3 out of 28 so far this year on 3-pointers, and they've mostly been wide open.
And it's the same for Devin Booker. He struggled for Phoenix. Shooting, that won't last. Shooters end up getting out of those funks eventually. I just hope that Klay Thompson gets out of it sooner than later and can actually help them before it gets too too much in his head and he turns into the ultimate role player, which I don't see happening, but it could. And Ian Clark stepped up, not having Patrick McCall because McCall's out with injury. Ended up, scoring 22 points. He had all 8 of his shots. So that was kind of fun to watch, to see him probably secure that, rotation spot out of default for right now. So, Gonzo, I didn't get a chance to go to you for the Warriors. Did you see anything you liked or disliked out of the Warriors?
I'm just liking the way Clay's playing right now, but hopefully he'll get out of that soon. Ian Clark, hey, he was lighting it up last night.
He got a moment's card as well.
Yeah, much respect to him. He turned it on. I mean, Durant didn't have the best of games, but he still had he had
20 points, I think. He still got 21
this
points.
This is like his 60-something consecutive 20-point game. So, I mean, he's when they all click, they'll be very scary. And like I said, they'll most definitely be coming out of the West.
That first game that we saw where the Spurs just absolutely beat the snot out of them, that was just an anomaly. That's not going to happen again.
Right.
I want to see them play JaVale McGee more, though.
Yeah.
Because Zaza's not working defensively.
No. I think JaVale can play. I think JaVale can protect the rim, and he has the footwork to.
And you know what? You can still start, but you can start Pachulia still. You just take him out at a certain point, depending on the matchup.
Right.
If it's a team who is primarily a jump shooting opponent, you can leave Pachulia in there a little longer. If it's a team who's just going to be a parade to the basket, you take him out, you put JaVale in. Let him alter some shots at the rim.
Right.
Go out and trade for Nerlens Noel. Ian Clark for Nerlens Noel.
I don't know. I don't know if
at this point
the want another banged up center right now. So
that's true. That is true. Maybe maybe the Jazz will be dumb and give him Gobert.
The Sixers did make a trade just while we're kind of brought up Sixers. Ersan Ilyasova was traded from the Oklahoma City Thunder for Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant will thrive in Oklahoma City playing that power forward backup role. Ilyasova is just kind of a stretch shooter to give him, a little bit of different look there, get next to Embiid and Okafor. But Dario Saric looked very good.
And speaking of Saric, he just knocked down the open three.
Nice. Saric is
Stauskas with a drive to the basket. Yeah.
So hopefully it continues and the Sixers get their first win at some point coming up. I thought they were going to pull it out against the Magic last night, but unfortunately,
and no Joel Embiid tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen. Yeah, Embiid's out, and then Okafor is going to play most of his minutes in the second half. So
Stauskas just threw a lob to Covington, and Covington missed the dunk.
That doesn't surprise me. Covington's been playing terrible this season. He'll end up going to bench once Ben Simmons comes to play. But that wraps up the game reviews. I want to take a look at some of the key games that we have kind of coming up on the schedule before we wrap it up for tonight. We're keeping tonight's podcast short and sweet because we've got the biggest game in the country coming on at 8 o'clock tonight, the Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians, Game 7 of the World Series. I think we're all going for the Chicago Cubs.
That's right.
So hope everybody listening is a Cubs fan. If you're an Indians fan, then I guess you can just turn us off because we're all Cubs biased on this podcast. So go Cubs. Hope they blow out the Indians and we don't see LeBron James on TV talking about the Indians won the World Series.
I thought LeBron James was a Yankees fan. Yeah, now he's an Indians fan.
Yeah, now
Kevin Love is now an Indians fan.
And a side note, LeBron and Dwayne Wade have a little bet going that if the Chicago Cubs win the World Series, LeBron has to come to the home game that the Chicago Bulls play the Cavaliers dressed in full Cubs gear.
Nice.
From head to toe, and vice versa for Dwayne Wade for the home game of the Cavaliers. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But looking at the games tonight, obviously Boston, Chicago. Gonzo, I'm going to you. Who do you think takes that? And before you answer, Al Horford is out with a concussion for the next 2 games. Tyler Zeller starting in his
and Doug's out as well tonight.
Yep. McDermott's out. Yep.
I got the Bulls. I just think they're a better team.
Okay.
Boston, I wasn't really high on Boston to begin with. I think that Al Horford signing was fool's gold. And a lot of people thought they were going to be number 3 in the East. Get out of here. They'll probably be something.
Keith wouldn't like that too much.
I still have them number 2 in the East, so I'm not giving up on them yet.
Well,
if you look at like Toronto or whatever, they're not playing that great either. So
no, they're not. They'll fall to the bottom too. Those are one of the teams. I think if I'm not mistaken, in one of our preview shows, I predicted Toronto to be like 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to be that good. I mean, Toronto's just not good. The East just wasn't good, so Toronto was able to stand out a little bit. Like Boston,
I don't think did any of us have Chicago in the playoffs?
Yeah, I had them.
No, I think I had them out.
I had them out, but my bold prediction was Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm sticking with that. I think that actually might be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but it's only 4 games. I think 4 games.
This will be game 4 for them.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna jump out the lid. I'm just impressed with their shooting early though, so I'm gonna stick with Chicago.
Hopefully it lasts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who you got, Matt? Chicago or Boston?
I'm gonna go with Chicago again. I Horford's out. Zellers, Marcus Smart is coming back. That's gonna help. That's gonna help Boston a lot. R.J. Hunter's available for the Bulls. Hopefully he can get in there and make some shots for them. I think Valentine I think will take Doug's spot tonight, and I think he's gonna play well. He's a smart player, Michigan State guy. We know how that always works out. They're always ready to play in the NBA, especially those seniors. So I think he'll be able to step in. He'll defend. He's going to make open shots. I like the Bulls, though. No Michael Carter-Williams as well. He's out a few weeks with the bone bruise, I believe.
Yeah,
but
actually,
I think
4 to 6 weeks, so he's out for a bit. So
and Cannon's looked really good. I'm impressed with him. He's way better than Aaron Brooks right now.
You can have him.
And we saw Aaron Brooks get dropped to the floor. I believe it was last night.
Hey, he's looked better than what they got out of Rodney Stuckey for a few games. So
yeah, that's true. But
yeah.
I'm going
contributing and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm going to take the Bulls tonight.
Okay, I'm going to go the opposite.
Yes,
just because I got to go opposite. I think Jaylen Brown has a good game off the bench this time and get some minutes because they'll move Amir Johnson over to the center spot. Jordan Mickey will get a little bit of some run as well. Curious to see kind of what he'll do, backing up Zeller. And then Marcus Smart coming in, I think he's going to defensively get some stops and help there. I never trust his shooting, so
he'll help him with rebounding too, with the way he boxes out. You won't have guards. Like Keith said the other night, he's going to help him out there.
I think Boston narrowly defeats Chicago, in this one. And then looking at the late game, it's the Thunder and the Clippers. Gonzo, who you got?
Give me the Clippers in a blowout.
Yeah, Clippers in a blowout.
Okay.
All right. Matt, who you got?
I am going the opposite. I'm taking Oklahoma City because I have them as a 50-win team and my number 4 seed. So I am taking Oklahoma City, another triple-double by Russell Westbrook, padding the stats. I think Steven Adams is going to be big tonight. He's going to play good defense. Canterman's going to be huge. Yeah, Canterman's going to be huge off the bench. I'm going with OKC. They're finally got a team that's good, and they want to prove that hey, we can beat good teams, not just the bottom feeders.
Yeah. I think Russell goes off. Of course, I want to see if Jeremy Grant gets a chance to play. Tonight, kind of what he does. I don't expect a lot because he's new to the team, but maybe catch a few lobs from Westbrook or Oladipo. I'm going to go Clippers on this one. I don't know that it's going to be a blowout, but I think they win by like 5 or so. Mm-hmm. I just think Blake and CP3 are going to overpower
Question
Westbrook.
for you, Pete. Does J.J. Redick find the touch tonight?
That's been a question mark because they're still going to him to start games, to get things rolling. He just hasn't knocked down shots. It's coming sooner or later. I mean, he puts too much work in the offseason. I don't know about tonight, but in the next few games, I think he'll turn it around. As we kind of talked before the show, if you watch his footwork coming off of screens and, one of the best I've ever seen as far as just his footwork.
Yeah. I want to throw one more game out here tonight that we don't have on here that I think could be an interesting game. The Rockets and the Knicks about to tip off in a couple minutes.
Okay. Who do you got in that one?
I'm going with the Knicks. I think they're going to play well tonight. You know, they've been up and down this year. They look great one game and look sorry the next game. I actually think Rose is going to figure this thing out and start passing the ball a little more. Carmelo, I don't know what to say about him. I think D Rose, he eventually will start passing. I think he's just trying to find his rhythm because he didn't play in the preseason. He'll be fine. I think he'll start passing. Carmelo's the question mark for me.
Yeah, I think.
But I'm taking the Knicks. Yeah.
He's going to feast tonight because there's nobody's coming out to guard him.
He's beasted the Rocket. He beasted the Rockets both times last year in the preseason. You saw what he did to them.
Right, Gonzo. Who do you have out of the Knicks and Rockets?
Oh man, in the words of Charles Barkley, the Knicks, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still sticking with them. I'm still sticking with them. Number 2.
The Rockets, I think the Rockets will beat them by double digits, and they will play good defense down the stretch. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Like, the Knicks are gonna destroy themselves. Derrick Rose is still making passes, jumping off his feet. Like, I don't think that's changing.
At least he's passing the ball, though.
I mean, yeah, but what did he finish last game with 2 assists last night?
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, he's not really getting assists. I mean, he's just Derrick Rose is just not a passing point guard. I think he's a drive to the lane, acrobatic layup type of guy. He's just he has the gold acrobatic 2K badge. You know, he's just that's all. I mean, I don't see. I think this is where we see the what do you call it? The decline of Derrick Rose. I don't think Derrick Rose will ever be the same again. But at the same token, too, I think that the Rockets will beat them down the stretch and win by double digits. I think the Rockets are a better team. I think the Rockets are better than a lot of these Eastern Conference teams. I think they're better than Milwaukee. I think they're better than – at this time, I even think Milwaukee's better than the Pacers. That's just my opinion.
Damn.
Okay. I mean, basically, looking at the Knicks, I mean, they're going to have to get a lot out of Courtney Lee defensively on James Harden. It's hard. It's kind of hard because the Rockets aren't the best on defense, and the Knicks haven't looked the best either way. I'm going to go Rockets by 12 over the Knicks. I think that Derrick Rose has a bunch of turnovers. Trying to pick up the pace to compete with James Harden from the other end. But I do think that Porzingis has a breakout, I wouldn't really say a breakout game, but, 20 to 25 points because he's going to get easy looks from the outside against, Ryan Anderson or whoever's kind of playing defense on him. So looking at Thursday's games, you've got Boston against Cleveland. Do they end up going 5-0, Gonzo?
Cleveland, yeah, they'll go 5-0. I mean,
okay.
I mean, right now, the teams that Cleveland are playing, there's really no competition for Cleveland. I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland goes 10-0 right now at this point. I mean, they're just one of those teams. They're going to get most of the calls. They can hit the three. They do hustle. They have the best player in the world on the team. So a lot of things are going to come real easy for the Cavs.
Right.
Until the finals.
Yeah. Even before that, I think they're going to have a little bit of more of a struggle than some people think. But Matt, does Cleveland go 5-0?
Yes, I think they go 5-0.
Yeah.
I don't have to say much.
Yeah, I think we're all unanimous on that. I've got them beating Boston as well. Thunder against Warriors, the matchup that everybody's kind of waiting on. Did the Warriors end up taking out Westbrook, and does Clay find a shot, Gonzo?
I think so. I think the Warriors will blow them out, even worse than they did the Blazers.
Damn.
Nice.
OKC's not a good team. Like, let's just be real. OKC's not better than the Clippers.
No.
They're not better than Portland. I just don't see them being better than Portland.
No.
I think that they have two pieces that Portland doesn't have. That's two big men. They have Adams and they have Cantor, who can actually play basketball. These big guys are actually good. The problem is that Russell Westbrook ain't trying to use them.
Yeah.
That's going to be the problem. Russell Westbrook is about getting triple doubles, and everybody talks about triple doubles. They're like, oh, Russell Westbrook putting up Oscar Robertson type numbers. Let me tell you something. Oscar Robertson got a lot of triple doubles as well. He averaged pretty much a triple double for over like 8-9 seasons, right?
Mm.
Where did I get him? Nowhere. First round exits, and eventually got him traded to the Bucks, where he played with a real superstar and got 1 ring. So triple doubles don't mean crap if you ain't getting people involved.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody talked about Oladipo. Westbrook. Oh, it's this great dynamic defense. Things like that. But Oladipo doesn't consistently bring you enough on offense when you've got a guy next to him and Andre Robertson that has no offense. So Russell's having to put up a triple-double for them to be competitively in games. And that's not what you look for come playoff time, because that's going to end up getting exposed long before the playoffs come around. And the question is going to be, who do they go after to get another piece? Do you move Enes Kanter because you signed Steven Adams to all that money? Do you move Kanter and get some other pieces, maybe a better small forward for the long term? Because they did not extend Andre Robertson. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't re-sign him or anything like that, but, curious kind of decision there where they could have locked him up because they did put so much money in Oladipo and Adams. So, Matt, you got the Warriors blowing out the Thunder?
I don't have it as a blowout. I have the Warriors winning. I actually think it's going to be a really competitive game. Warriors will take it, but I think it's going to be a competitive game. I don't know if Clay's going to find his touch. I hope he does. But, yeah, I'm going with a close one. Warriors by 5.
Okay. I've got the Warriors.
That's my bold prediction.
I think everybody talks about Durant being the leading scorer. I think, obviously, it's going to end up being Curry's going to put up a bunch of points, but I think Clay is going to end up putting up more points than Durant does in the game against the Thunder. Okay. I think Clay gets his confidence back and surprises a lot of people. That's my bold prediction for that game. He puts up more points than Durant. That doesn't mean Durant's going to put up 14 points or anything like that, but
he's just not going to get
27 to Durant's 25 or something. Because Durant could easily have 25 and 16 against the Thunder, with no problem. But looking at Friday, you've got Bulls and Knicks. What can you say that we haven't already said about either team? But Gonzo, who do you have, Bulls or Knicks in that one?
Bulls, blowing them out.
Damn.
No confidence in the Knicks.
No, Knicks are they're a disappointing team. And it's funny how Jeff Hornacek is getting all these questions about what does the team have to change. And I honestly don't think it's Jeff Hornacek. I think he just doesn't have the players. I think Joakim Noah is a good defender. I think Courtney Lee is a good defender. Melo is just never gonna pass, because even when they were showing him showing him some of those like double team, those fake double teams, I would call them fake double teams, against the Cavs, he was still trying to take jump shots and drive his way to the basket. No passing. Derrick Rose, when he does pass, he's usually jumping, like I said, leaving his feet. Just not a passing point guard. They just like they refuse to run the offense through Porzingis, who I think is the star of that team, period. He has youth. He has athleticism to be 7 for 3. He can handle the ball to be 7 for 3. The guy can shoot. I think he should have the ball more than anybody on that team right now. He's the biggest bright spot on that team. Mm-hmm. Knicks are very disappointing. Very disappointing. If I was a New York Knicks fan, I would literally probably cut my cable cord or go outside and destroy my satellite dish because the Knicks are on TV.
Wow. All right, Matt. So you've got, before you give your answer, you've got the Knicks finished number 2.
Yes, so I'm sticking with it. I'm not pulling away from it 3 games into the season. I can't.
Right, does that mean you've got them beating the Bulls on?
Yes, I absolutely do. I think Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah are going to have monster games in Chicago. Going back. All right, is it in New York? It's in Chicago. It is in Chicago. I believe it's in Chicago. Yeah, they're going to have monster games. I'm going with the Knicks. I think the Knicks blow them out, actually. I think this is the one. Knicks in a blowout over the Bulls.
I can't go that far. I've got to say that the Bulls end up pulling it out barely. I think Derrick Rose has a good game, but I don't think it's going to be enough against him. I think Porzingis is actually, after having a good night, basically this game, he's going to end up having a bad game against the Bulls, going against Taj Gibson. I think maybe he gets into some foul trouble and struggles a little bit there. But Spurs and Jazz rematch on Friday. Did the Spurs lose again to the Jazz, or do they take this one, Gonzo?
Blow them out this time.
Damn.
Okay.
They'll be able to get some rest. They'll be ready Saturday. Absolutely.
Okay. Matt.
This is a tough one, but I'm going to take Utah in a close one. 2 or 3 point game. I'm going with Utah.
I'm going Spurs slight edge over Utah. I don't think they can pull magic, out of the hat 2 games in a row against the Spurs. I just think the Spurs have too much, especially when most of their guys play and have decent games. So I think that Aldridge will have a good game, and Leonard will, of course, do normal Kawhi Leonard things on the defensive end and be able to put up some more numbers on offense as well to kind of lead them to the victory. And then Saturday, the last game we've got on the list as a key game is the Clippers against the Spurs. Should be a good matchup there. Who takes that one, Gonzo?
I think because the Spurs use so much energy against the Jazz, I think they actually lose to Clippers in a close one.
Same kind of mindset I had. Matt, who do you have?
I'm going to go with the Clippers in this one.
Nice. Unanimous
Yes.
pick on that one. Okay. Well, that's going to basically wrap up this episode. But before we get out of here and everybody gets on to the World Series, I did mention on our show Monday night that I was going to acknowledge some of the reviews that we have on iTunes. So I want to just take a second and read those off. So we have hopefully I don't butcher anybody's name. So if I do, I apologize. But we have it looks like Cabe 59592 says chill insight, great analysis. Found the podcast through YouTube and liked the content. I liked it so much that I watched all of the team previews. Good and informative, and would recommend. Then we've got Clyde Peck says good stuff. I like all the work that you guys put into the podcast. Very entertaining with some good finds and interesting opinions. Charles Bader says the show is awesome. Love the show. Keep it up. We've got Edgar Jones. I'm sorry. I think he watched the 2K or listened to the 2K episode we had with Brian Mazik because he says awesome podcast, greatest gaming podcast ever. We've got Philip Jackson 20 says everyone needs to listen, get it. Joseph Morrow says thanks for posting. Found each episode to be real practical and helpful. James Woodson 10 says thanks for sharing your time and experience. Much appreciated. Best advice I've found on a podcast. Lobbied Van says excellent podcast. Very informative and helpful. Explains this one kind of doesn't make much sense to me, but it says you guys explain how your mind works and the significance of the experiences. I hear all of them. I'm not sure quite what that means, but thank you. Gave us a 5-star review. And a good buddy of mine, Josh Sweeney Ecliptic, says unbiased and raw. If you want news about what's happening around the NBA and the players in the league, then look no further than this podcast. They do a fantastic job of giving unbiased opinions on everything going on. Josh is a good friend of mine and lives about 2 hours away from me and says he listens on his way to and from work. So definitely appreciate that. Shout out to you, Josh. Thank you. Shout out to your wife, Jessica, as well. Hope everything's going well and hope you continue to listen. Well, everybody, that wraps up this episode. Hope you enjoy our recaps and our just kind of preview predictions. We may not have an episode on Sunday. We may have to push it to Monday. But in the meantime, please go to YouTube, like the videos, give us a comment underneath the videos. Let us know kind of what you want to see for some future episodes as we kind of roll out some different topic ideas throughout the season. Go to iTunes, click on subscribe, Unquestionably Raw Podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. And then please give a written review under that. We need more reviews to be able to climb the ladder on iTunes and continue to bring you great content. And just to let you know, in just a few episodes, we will have kind of a sponsor read-off. I'm not going to spoil it yet, but we will have a sponsor read-off kind of there. So want to listen out for that. You'll get a great deal out of it via the Unquestionably Raw podcast. So, look for us on Monday, like I said, and go Cubs in the World Series.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you guys probably sometime Monday early evening. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.